You know that feeling, right? You're just scrolling through emails, maybe checking texts, and something just feels off.
Yeah.
Like that message saying you won some prize draw you definitely never entered. Or maybe a security alert that seems, I don't know, a bit too urgent.
That little hesitation, that gut feeling, it's actually a really key defense we have in this digital world. Because those attempts to trick us, they're everywhere.
They really are. And that instinct, that pause, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've got some really interesting source material here that gives us a good shortcut to understanding these everyday digital threats.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from those, classic scams trying to get you to click to maybe more subtle, unexpected tech stuff that could mean trouble.
And we're going to pull out the most important insights from these sources. The goal for this deep dive. To get you really well informed,
Yeah.
about keeping yourself, your workplace, safer from cyber threats.
With some surprising bits and hopefully some clear, useful knowledge.
Yeah, stuff that goes beyond just the real basics.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So where should we start? Phishing seems like the obvious one, right? It's probably the most common trick.
Definitely. And the sources define it pretty clearly. It's basically fraudulent messages, mostly email, but like you said, not always.
Right.
Attackers pretend to be someone legit, your bank, a big company, maybe even someone inside your own company.
And they want what? Login details,
Yeah.
money.
Exactly. Sensitive info. They trick you into clicking a bad link or opening an attachment that's, well, not good news.
It's like a digital con job, basically.
That's a good way to put it. And what's interesting, as the sources point out, is how it's evolved. The core idea tricking you is simple, but the methods, they've gotten way more sophisticated and targeted.
Okay, so there are different types. Like the sources mentioned basic phishing.
Yeah, that's the wide net approach, blasting out millions of generic emails hoping someone bites. Think those old Nigerian prince emails or lottery scams.
Low effort, high volume.
Exactly. But then it gets more focused. There's spear phishing.
Spear phishing.
Okay. That's targeted. They aim it at a specific group, maybe employees at a certain company or people in a specific role. They use info they have about you to make the email seem really relevant.
Ah, so it feels more personal, more believable.
Much more. And then there's whaling. The sources mention this one specifically.
Whaling. Okay. That sounds big.
It is. It's like spear phishing, but aimed right at the top, the big catches. CEOs, CFOs, senior execs.
Wow. Going after the big fish for the biggest potential prize, like getting huge sums of money transferred or accessing top secret company plans.
Precisely. High risk, high reward for them.
Okay. And then smishing. That's the text message one. Yeah. I've definitely seen those.
SMS phishing. Often it's broad, like basic email phishing, but it plays on how we tend to maybe trust texts a bit more or just react faster on our phones.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so it's emails, text, but here's something in the sources that really jumped out at me. Companies sending fake scams to their own people.
On purpose. Yes. That's actually a really important security awareness practice the sources highlight, simulated phishing campaigns.
So the IT department cooks up a fake scam email and sends it out.
Pretty much. Or a text.
Why? Just to, catch people messing up?
Well, not really to catch them like that, though sometimes there are follow-ups if someone clicks repeatedly. The main reasons, according to the sources, are twofold. First, it gives people real practice spotting fakes without any actual danger.
Okay, like a fire drill for scams.
Exactly. And second, it helps the company see where the weaknesses are, who needs more training, which types of scams are people falling for. It shows everyone they could be a target.
Ah, so it's less about pointing fingers and more about checking how good the training is and finding the weak spots in that human firewall idea.
You got it. And it all ties back to that core concept the sources mentioned. Phishing is really a form of social engineering.
Right, the sources really emphasize that. It's not just about tech, it's about psychology.
Totally. It's manipulating people. Think about how con artists work in the real world. They play on trust, curiosity, maybe fear, authority.
Agreed. Like the contest winner thing.
Yeah, agreed too. They use those human emotions to get us to override our caution, to click that link or give up that info when our rational brain might be screaming, no.
That makes so much sense. It's bypassing the tech by targeting the person.
Yeah.
Okay, so based on the sources, what are the really key warning signs, the red flags we absolutely need to look for?
The sources give a great checklist. A big one is spoofed communication, making the sender look real when they're not.
How do they do that? Like subtle misspellings.
Yep, classic trick, using a 0 for an O, or adding an extra letter to a familiar company name. Or the display name looks right, like customer support, but the actual email address behind it is, gibberish or from a free email service.
So you got to look really closely at the sender's full address.
Absolutely. Don't just trust the name you see. Another big one, urgent or threatening language.
Oh, yeah. Act now. Security alert. Your account is locked.
Exactly. They want to create panic, make you rush, stop you from thinking it through.
I feel like I see those constantly. They definitely try to push your buttons.
They do. And the sources mention common scam themes, like the "you've won" scams where you need to pay a fee or give bank details, or the classic tax refund trick.
Okay. The tax refund one, is there a tip for that?
There's a brilliant one in the sources, actually. Surprisingly simple. Many official tax agencies worldwide still use paper mail for things like refund notifications. So if you get an email or text demanding info for a tax refund, almost certainly a scam.
Wow, that's gold. Paper mail for tax refunds.
Yeah.
Easy to remember. Okay, what else on spotting them? The sender's address? Any more tricks there?
Well, besides checking the full address, the sources mention hitting reply. Don't send it, obviously. But sometimes the actual hidden reply to address that pops up is totally different from the from address you saw initially. It reveals the real scammer.
Ooh, that's sneaky. I never would have thought of hitting reply just to check.
It's a neat trick. And then, of course, requests for personal information. This is huge. Legitimate companies, banks, government agencies, they just don't ask for passwords, credit card numbers, social security numbers, that kind of thing, via email.
Never.
Yeah.
Like, not even if they say there's a problem with your account.
Almost never. They'll tell you to log in securely through their official site, which you should navigate to yourself, not by clicking their link. Which brings us to suspicious links, probably the most famous sign.
Right. Don't click the link.
Yeah.
But how do you know if it's suspicious before you click?
The absolute key tip from the sources, hover. Just rest your mouse pointer over the link. Don't click.
Okay.
Your browser or email program will usually show the actual web address the link goes to, often down in the bottom corner of the window. If that address looks weird, doesn't match the link text, or goes somewhere totally unexpected, don't click it.
That hover trick. So simple, but so crucial. Okay, so I think I see a fish. What do the sources say I should actually do?
Rule number 1, do not interact. No clicking, no downloading attachments, no replying. Just stop, close it, or delete it.
Got it. Don't engage.
Second, report it. If it's work-related, tell your IT or security team immediately. They need to know. If it's personal, most email providers have a report phishing or report spam button. Reporting helps protect everyone else, too.
And maybe give colleagues or family a heads up if it looks convincing.
Absolutely. Educate yourself and others. Sharing awareness is key. And finally, the crucial step. If you think you might have clicked something or maybe typed in a password before you realized, change your passwords immediately.
For that site.
Yes, and for any other site where you might have reused that same password, which ideally you shouldn't be doing, use strong, unique passwords for everything. And turn on multi-factor authentication, MFA, wherever you can.
That's really solid advice, straight from the sources, very practical. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The sources also talk about something called anomalous behavior recognition. ABR sounds a bit more technical, like less about spotting emails and more about what systems are doing.
Yeah, it's a bit different. ABR is more about systems, often automated ones, or maybe security analysts, looking for activity that's, well, unusual, out of the ordinary.
Unusual how?
It's about spotting patterns or deviations from patterns in networks or on computers that just don't fit the norm. Think of it like a security guard who knows everyone's normal routine in a building. If someone suddenly starts trying doors they never touch, the guard notices. ABR is the digital version of that.
Okay, that helps. Spotting weird digital behavior.
Oh.
So what kinds of weird are we talking about? The sources break it down.
They do, into 3 main types of anomalies. First, there's risky behavior.
Risky, but not necessarily like an active attack.
Exactly. It's stuff that might not be malicious itself, but it creates big vulnerabilities. It increases the chances of something bad happening down the line.
Like what? Examples.
The sources mention things like granting way too many permissions to a user account, giving someone keys to rooms they don't need to be in, basically, or sharing login details, huge no-no, downloading sketchy files from websites you shouldn't trust, or even just constantly ignoring security warnings that pop up.
Ah, okay. So risky, is often carelessness, maybe trying to find shortcuts, but it leaves the door wide open for trouble.
You got it. And then the second type is unexpected behavior.
Unexpected, like statistically weird.
Yeah, pretty much. Activity that just deviates wildly from the established baseline for that specific user or that system.
Like if I work in marketing and suddenly I start trying to access the engineering servers at 3 a.m.
Perfect example. Or if a server that normally hums along using hardly any memory suddenly starts hogging massive amounts for no clear reason. It's behavior that's statistically an outlier compared to its history.
Got it. Deviating from the norm. And the third type was unintentional.
Right. Unintentional anomalies. These are things that cause problems or create risks due to, well, human error, accidents. Yeah. Misconfiguring a security setting, accidentally deleting important files, that kind of thing. But critically, the sources also include actions taken by someone who's been tricked by social engineering under this category.
Ah, okay, so back to our phishing example. If someone does click that bad link, the system might flag that click or whatever happens next as an unintentional anomaly because the user didn't mean to install malware. They were tricked.
Exactly. The sources link this directly back to awareness, or lack thereof. It highlights how, even with great tech, one person being fooled, one unintentional click, can let the bad guys in.
So the human element is huge here too, not just being the target, but also potentially causing these anomalies, even accidentally.
It really underscores why organizations can't just rely on firewalls and antivirus. They need their people to be savvy, aware, secure.
Which leads us perfectly into the whole topic of user guidance and training. The sources call this building the human firewall. Why is this training piece so incredibly important based on what we're seeing?
Because, as we've just discussed, so many security problems start with a person. Someone clicks the wrong thing, someone makes a risky choice, someone makes an honest mistake. Technology is vital, absolutely, but it's never going to be 100% perfect.
Right.
The sources really stress that having users who are trained, aware, and thinking critically about security, that's a massively important defense layer. It cuts down the risk significantly. It's about empowering people.
Okay, so what does good training actually cover? It sounds like it needs to be way more than just a memo saying, don't click weird links.
Oh, definitely. The sources lay out a pretty comprehensive list. It starts with the basics, like making sure everyone knows the company policy and handbooks on security. You need to know the rules.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What about situational awareness? That sounds broader.
It is. It's about fostering a general mindset of alertness, understanding the kinds of threats that are out there, recognizing that you personally could be a target, and thinking critically when something seems off or unusual.
And insider threat training. Is that just watching out for colleagues acting suspiciously?
It includes that, yes, recognizing potential malicious insiders, but the sources also emphasize training on the unwitting accomplice, the person who causes harm accidentally, maybe because they were tricked or just didn't know better. Training needs to cover both sides, spotting malicious intent and preventing accidental harm, and knowing how to report concerns safely.
That unwitting part is key. Okay, password management obviously important, but the sources specifically call out multi-factor authentication, MFA. Why the extra emphasis?
Because passwords alone just aren't enough anymore. They get stolen, they get guessed, they get leaked in breaches all the time. MFA, adding that second step like a code from your phone app or a text message or a physical key.
Yeah.
It makes it exponentially harder for an attacker.
Yeah.
Even if they steal your password, they likely don't have your phone or that physical token. It's a huge security boost.
Okay, adds that crucial second lock.
Yeah.
Now here's one from the sources that genuinely made me go, huh? Removable media and cable. Seriously, a USB stick is still a big deal.
Absolutely. The sources warn strongly about plugging in untrusted USB drives you find lying around, or even ones given to you. They can be loaded with malware. And cables, too.
Wait, a charging cable? How?
Attackers can modify them. A cable that looks normal could actually act like a keyboard when plugged in, typing commands to install malware, or it could siphon data. The training needs to warn people. Don't plug in random stuff you find.
Wow, okay, that's kind of mind-blowing. Something so everyday.
It just shows threats aren't always obvious. And of course, training has to cover social engineering in depth. Phishing, smishing, and the sources add vishing, that's voice phishing, scammers calling you on the phone.
Ah, the fake tech support calls or the bank impersonators?
Exactly. And simulated exercises, like those fake phishing tests we talked about, are crucial here for building real-world recognition skills. Practice helps.
Makes sense. What about just everyday secure habits?
That falls under operational security, or OPSEC. Training on things like using secure Wi-Fi, understanding basics of data encryption, knowing the exact process for reporting a security incident quickly. Knowing who to call and what to say is vital in a crisis.
And what about everyone working from home now? Or coffee shops?
Big focus in the sources. Training for hybrid and remote work. Covers secure use of VPNs, the risks of unsecured home Wi-Fi, keeping work devices physically secure, maybe keeping work and personal stuff separate on devices. It's a different environment with different risks.
Okay, that is a lot of ground to cover. How do companies even begin to structure all that training effectively?
Well, the sources outline a kind of framework, and it's presented as a cycle, not just a one-off thing. It goes, goals needs to develop, delivery, feedback, monitor.
So it's not just like one mandatory lecture a year. It's a continuous loop.
Exactly. It's ongoing improvement. You start by figuring out your main risks and what skills people actually need, goals needs. Then you create the training materials and choose the methods, develop. Then you actually deliver the training delivery. Then you collect feedback. Did people get it? Was it useful? Feedback. And then you watch what happens. Do security incidents go down? Do people seem to be applying the lessons? Monitor.
No.
And that monitoring feeds back into setting new goals for the next round. It keeps evolving.
And the sources seem to really care about how you do the training, right?
Yeah.
Not just that you do it.
Absolutely. Just having materials isn't enough. Defining clear goals is step one. What specific secure behaviors do you want people to adopt? And tailoring content is huge. The sources say one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
Training for the finance team needs to be different from training for salespeople, which is different again for IT admins. It needs to be relevant, use language people understand, maybe use online labs for practice, tell relatable stories, use really examples.
Keep it relevant. And the actual delivery. How do you get people to, actually pay attention and learn?
The sources have good suggestions there, too. Things like offering different formats, online modules people do at their own pace, live interactive workshops, webinars, getting leaders involved, showing it matters, launching with enthusiasm, maybe rolling it out in stages. Scenario-based learning is big, walking people through realistic fake situations. And gamification.
Gamification. You mean like points and badges for doing security quizzes? Does that stuff actually make people more secure or just better at the game?
The sources suggest it really can help. Making it more engaging, maybe a little competitive with quizzes or challenges can definitely boost how many people participate and how much they remember. And hopefully that translates to safer habits. It taps into motivation.
Okay, I can see that being more fun than just reading a policy doc. So after all this training effort, how do the sources say you measure if it actually worked?
Two main ways mentioned. There's the initial check. Right after the training, do you see a drop in things like successful phishing clicks, malware infections, reported incidents?
Okay, immediate impact.
But crucially, there's also recurring measurement. Checking again, say, 6 months or a year later. Because the real question is, does it stick? Or does complacency creep back in? Do you need refresher training?
Keeping that vigilance up long term. That's the real challenge, isn't it?
It really is. And it raises that big question. How do we make sure these lessons become ingrained habits, part of the culture, not just something people remember for a week after the training?
So when we pull it all together, what does this all mean? We've dug into this source material, pulled out some key takeaways on security awareness. We've talked about all the different flavors of phishing, from casting wide nets to, whaling for the big targets, and those really practical signs to watch for.
Simple things like hovering over links, checking sender addresses closely.
Exactly. And we explored anomalous behavior recognition, understanding it's not just tech glitches, but spotting actions that are risky or unexpected, or even just unintentional mistakes that deviate from normal patterns.
Right, recognizing things that just don't look right in the sister's behavior.
And then we really saw why that comprehensive, engaging, ongoing user training is so critical. Tailoring it, using simulations, maybe even gamification, building that human firewall seems absolutely central.
Yeah, this deep dive was really about extracting those core insights from the sources, trying to give you a shortcut to feeling more informed, more prepared for the kinds of digital risks we all face at work and at home.
And thinking about how much these attacks rely on playing with our heads, the social engineering, exploiting psychology, and how vital training is to fight that. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How much our own everyday vigilance matters.
Maybe that's the final thought to leave people with. Could we take that idea of spotting anomalous behavior, things that seem risky or unexpected or maybe unintentionally misleading, and apply it not just to our tech, but to the flood of information we see every day.
Like looking critically at news, social media posts, things people share. Asking, does this feel right? Is this designed to make me panic or react emotionally? Applying that same security mindset more broadly.
Exactly. Using that same critical filter for information anomalies, just like we do for potential phishing emails. Maybe that's part of being truly security aware in the bigger picture.